woman was already smiling before the bus reached her. That's the part nobody talks about. Not the fact that she was standing in the middle of a dense forest at 11 o'clock at night. Not the fact that there were no houses for 30 kilometers in either direction. The part that matters, the part that broke everything open, is that she was already smiling before anyone could have seen her face. Ash saw her first. Rex saw her a second later. She was standing at the edge of the tree line, perfectly still, in the kind of darkness that makes your phone flashlight feel like a birthday candle. They passed her. The bus kept moving. And then she was there again. Same woman. Same spot. Standing on the road ahead of them. The bus had traveled 1 full kilometer since they passed her. There was no car. No path through the trees. No explanation. Just an old woman standing in a forest at midnight, now somehow in front of the bus she just watched drive away. And this time, close enough that Ash could see her face clearly through the window, she was smiling. A wide, stretched, horrible smile. The kind of smile that doesn't belong on a human face. The kind that sits in your stomach for weeks after you see it. That was the first sign. They ignored it. They were about to learn what it cost them to do that. Rex was the kind of person who fixed problems before they became problems. On the bus that night he'd already reorganized the luggage overhead so the bags wouldn't shift on the curves. He checked the cabin booking twice on his phone and saved a screenshot in case the signal dropped. He'd bought snacks for everyone before boarding, the good kind, not the sad airport kind. His girlfriend Ash had watched him do all of this from the seat beside him, her knee pressed against his, and she'd thought, this is exactly who I wanted to take this trip with. They'd been together for 2 years. She liked that he never panicked. She liked that he always had a reason for things. When her sister's wedding went sideways last spring, Rex had been the one quietly making calls in the corner while everyone else cried. That was just who he was. The rest of their friend group had filled the seats around them. Ryan was making everyone laugh near the back. That easy laugh of his that made strangers feel like they'd known him for years. His girlfriend Rachel had her head on his shoulder, eyes half closed, already drifting. Nora was reading on her phone with the expression of someone who has made peace with the fact that she is the most sensible person in any room she enters. Sophie was watching the dark trees outside with mild, pleasant curiosity. And Ethan, poor, hopeful Ethan, was trying once again to get Nora's attention. The cabin trip was 3 hours away. Everyone was happy. Rex had a plan. He always had a plan. The conductor had been resisting for 20 minutes. Rex and Ash had heard it all from their seats, the back and forth, Rex's friend Ryan pressing harder and harder. The conductor explaining in the strained voice of a man who has been doing this job for 15 years and has never once been listened to. We are in the middle of a forest. There is nowhere safe to stop. Give it 10 minutes. Ryan gave it 4 minutes. Then he gave the conductor a look that communicated the full urgency of the situation without any words, and the conductor told the driver to pull over. The doors hissed open. The cool forest air came in, the sharp, wet smell of pine and something older beneath it, something damp and dark that you only get in forests that haven't been cleared in decades. No streetlights. No traffic. Just the hum of the idling engine and the trees pressing close on both sides. One by one, almost the whole group got off. The conductor watched them go with the expression of a man watching his afternoon tea get knocked off a counter in slow motion. He told them not to. They didn't listen. The moment Ash stepped off the bus, she felt something. Not fear exactly. More like the feeling of a room where a conversation just stopped. The forest was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Waiting quiet. She stayed close to Rex. He had already walked 10 steps ahead and was looking around at the trees with the relaxed curiosity of a man who had never once been afraid of the dark. "It's a forest," he said when she told him it felt off. "It's supposed to feel like this. It's the middle of the night." Ash nodded. She told herself he was right. Behind them, in the shadows between the pine trunks, nothing moved. But something watched. And something registered the names, the faces, the relationships, the weaknesses, the way the shade has always done in this stretch of road, in this particular strip of dark forest where no light reaches. It had been doing this for a very long time. They were only off the bus for a few minutes before the second sighting happened. Ash grabbed Rex's arm and pointed. And there she was again, the old woman. Standing in the trees 20 meters from where the bus had pulled over. Same posture. Same stillness. Hands at her sides. Face turned toward them. You need to understand what still means here. Not standing still. Not the stillness of a person who has stopped walking. The stillness of something that doesn't need to breathe. The stillness of a mannequin. The kind of motionlessness that makes your body understand something is wrong before your brain does. Her head turned very slowly toward Ash. Just the head. The rest of her body didn't move. And she smiled. Rex looked for 2 seconds and then looked away. There are houses through these trees. Farmhouses. She's probably a local who heard the bus stop. He said it the way he said everything, calmly, reasonably, with the full authority of someone who has never been proven wrong in any situation that mattered. Ash watched the old woman until the trees blocked the view. The old woman watched Ash back. Meanwhile, Ethan had drifted further from the group than any of them, phone held above his head in search of signal bars that didn't exist. He'd wandered 20 meters from the road. Then 30. He didn't notice how far he'd gone. He was thinking about Nora and what he'd say if she ever gave him a real chance. He got 1 bar. Then none. He walked a little further. When the bus honked, the conductor losing patience, the group reconvened on the road. They counted heads. Everyone was there. "All right," Rex said. "Let's get back on." They did. All of them. The doors closed. Someone called out from the back. Everyone who got off is back on. The driver pulled out. The bus accelerated down the dark highway. Everything was fine. For exactly 4 minutes. Then the laughter started. It came from the back of the bus first. One voice. A hollow, toneless laugh, not the sound of something that finds something funny. The sound of something performing the memory of laughter. A second voice joined it. Then a third. One by one, every single person from their group who had stepped off the bus began laughing in perfect unison. The same pitch, the same rhythm, the same dead, terrible tone. The other passengers stared. The laughter grew louder. And then their faces changed. The features of Rex, Ash, Nora, Sophie, Ryan, Rachel, Ethan, Uncle Dave, Aunt Linda, every face that had stepped off that bus, stretched and distorted, peeled, became something that had never been any of those people. Something that had only been wearing those faces for the last few minutes. Then every single one of them vanished. No screaming. No trace. Not even a seat cushion disturbed. The other passengers began screaming. Someone yelled, "Don't stop the bus, it's a shade trap." The driver floored it. But the real Ash and Rex and the others were still standing on the road, watching taillights disappear into the dark. They were 9 when they got off the bus. They were 8 when they stood on the empty road watching it drive away. They didn't know that yet. Ethan hadn't found his way back to the group before the bus left. He was still in the trees, phone up, chasing the ghost of a signal bar, when a voice stopped him cold. "Hey! Stop. If you go any further you'll lose your way back." He turned. Nora was standing between 2 pine trees, 10 meters ahead. She wasn't where she should have been. She wasn't looking at him the way she always looked at him, flat, tired, slightly exasperated. She was looking at him softly, almost warmly. He should have asked how she'd gotten ahead of him in the dark. He should have asked why her voice sounded slightly off, just slightly, the way a recording of a person sounds compared to the actual person. He should have noticed that she was wearing heels. High heels, in a forest, at night, on ground covered in pine roots. He noticed the heels. He rationalized the heels. And he followed her. She led him by the hand deeper into the forest, moving faster than made any sense given the terrain. Ethan kept almost stumbling. She never did. She moved through the roots and the dark like she wasn't touching the ground at all. She stopped at the edge of what looked like a pond. In the moonlight it was genuinely beautiful. Still and silver, the trees reflected perfectly on the surface. It looked like something you'd photograph. It looked like something from a travel video. "Let's swim," she said. "Just us." "Nora, it's midnight." "The bus is." But she was already wading in, looking back at him over her shoulder, that soft smile that he had wanted to see for years. And he followed her. He stepped into the water. His feet stopped. Not sinking slowly into soft mud. Stopping. Being grabbed. Being pulled downward with a steady, mechanical pressure, like something with hands was pulling his ankles from below. "My feet, I can't, why can't I?" The thing that looked like Nora threw its head back and laughed. The sound that came out was not Nora's laugh. It wasn't any human's laugh. Its eyes opened and they were red, not bloodshot, not reflected light. Burning, from inside, engine red. Ethan screamed. The scream moved through the trees and died. Nobody heard it. Nobody was close enough to hear it. He clawed at the surface of the swamp, because that's what it was. Not a pond, a bog. A quicksand swamp dressed up in moonlight and perfect stillness, and found nothing. His chest went under. His shoulders. He twisted and clawed and screamed until the scream was cut off and there was only the dark water and then there was nothing. The surface sealed over him without a ripple. The thing that had worn Nora's face walked calmly out of the swamp on solid ground. It didn't look back. It dissolved into the tree line like smoke. And the pond was still. And the forest was quiet. And somewhere on the road, the rail, Nora was standing with Rex and Ash wondering why Ethan hadn't come back yet, and saying, "He was following me around, being annoying, so I walked away from him." She didn't know. None of them knew. They thought they were 8. They were 7. The bell was the strangest thing about it. A small, clear bell, the kind attached to a pushcart, ringing through a forest road at midnight, with no explanation and no context, as if the world had simply decided that this was a normal time for someone to be selling ice cream. He came rolling along the shoulder of the road. An older man, unhurried, the cart in front of him. He stopped when he saw them. He looked at them the way a doctor looks at someone in a waiting room who has been there for hours. "How did you all end up out here at this hour?" he said. Rex explained. "The bus. The stop. The conductor. The bus not coming back. The vendor nodded slowly. I need to tell you something about this road. He said it with the quiet certainty of someone who has been ignored many times. There is something in this forest. In isolated stretches of road like this one, no lights, no traffic, no people, it grows very powerful. The locals call it the shade. Ash went still. She felt something move through her that she hadn't felt since she saw the old woman smiling from the tree line. The shade is a corrupted entity, the vendor continued. It inhabits desolate places. Here it has lived for generations. This stretch of road has swallowed travelers for at least a century. Old records in the district town hall describe disappearances going back to the 1800s. Always on this same 10-kilometer stretch. Always at night. Always people who stopped their journey for one reason or another. The shade learned over time. It evolved. It doesn't announce itself. It takes on the form of people you know. Places you trust. It creates illusions, not suggestions, not feelings. Full illusions. Your brain cannot distinguish them from reality. It uses the people closest to you to lead you somewhere you cannot survive. Uncle Dave and Aunt Linda had gone the color of old paper. Sophie hadn't moved. Rex opened his mouth. And this is the moment that everything that came after could be traced back to, where he said, "Come on. You're telling me something can take on anyone's form? That's nonsense. Is there a diner near here or a gas station?" The vendor sighed the sigh of a man who had expected this. "If you go straight ahead, you'll find a roadside diner. But I'm begging you, stay together. Don't go anywhere with anyone alone. And the only thing that drives the shade away is..." Rex walked away. The others followed. Ash looked back once. The vendor was watching them go, the clay vessel in both hands. His expression, the specific expression of someone watching people walk toward something he knows he can't stop. She almost went back. She didn't. The diner looked exactly right. That was the thing. It looked exactly like a roadside diner at midnight should look. Fluorescent lights. A man behind a counter. The smell of tea and fried oil. A helper named Manny. A few other people scattered around. Everything grounded. Everything real. They sat down. They ordered tea. Rex's shoulders came down an inch. Ash could feel the group starting to breathe again. Then a small boy came in from outside. "Please, sir, could I have a cup of tea? I don't have any money." The man behind the counter didn't look up. "Get out. Beggar. Get out." The boy left. And then, the wooden bench beside the counter cracked. The legs snapped clean, and both the counter owner and Manny crashed to the floor in a heap. "Manny! How many times have I told you to fix that bench?" Sorry, I'll fix it tomorrow." The group shifted. Rex raised an eyebrow. Then the boy came back. "Please, sir, just a cup of tea. I'm so..." "Get out." The bench legs snapped. The same two men fell in exactly the same way. The same words came out of the same mouths. Not similar. Identical. The same pause before Manny. The same intonation on tomorrow. Every millisecond of it, a perfect copy. Ash stood up. Her chair scraped back. "We need to leave. Right now." "Wait, leaving so soon?" The man behind the counter smiled. Not a normal smile. The wide one. The stretched one. The one from the tree line. And then every single person in the diner turned and smiled the same smile at exactly the same time. And then they began to laugh, in unison, in the same hollow dead tone. the same sound they'd heard through the bus windows. They ran. While this was happening, Ryan and Rachel had already survived the shack. They'd broken from the group to rest at what looked like a warm wooden house set back from the road, a kind old man on the porch, a fire going inside, the smell of food. They'd sat down at his table. He'd brought 2 plates. On each plate, a severed human hand, cut at the wrist, placed like a meal. They ran, screaming, tearing through the dark back toward the road. And they found the rest of the group pouring out of the diner at the same moment, all of them converging, all of them trying to talk at once. Rex listened to Ryan describe the shack, the old man, the plates. And then Rex's face changed. Not Rex's real face. The face underneath Rex's face. The old man's face, stretched over Rex's skull, grinning with everything it had. Every person standing around Ryan and Rachel transformed simultaneously. The same face. 7 identical old man faces closing in from all sides. Ryan and Rachel's screams lasted exactly 4 seconds. Then the shade rose into the air as a flock of crows and hawks, scattering into the black sky with a sound like tearing paper. The road was empty. That was gone. All of it. The rational explanations, the shrugging, the mild contempt for people who got scared of forests and old women at night. What replaced it was something much simpler. He was terrified. And he understood, in the way you only understand things after they've already cost you something, that they had made every wrong choice since getting off the bus. "We go back to where we met the vendor," he said. "That's the last place we were on solid ground." They ran. The 6 of them, Rex, Ash, Nora, Sophie, Uncle Dave, Aunt Linda, sprinting down the dark road with the forest pressing close on both sides. Something moved in the trees alongside them, keeping pace. Not rushing. The vendor appeared in the road ahead. Same cart. Same lamp. Same unhurried posture. "I told you," he said simply. "Come with me. Everyone, follow me. You'll be safe." He turned. They started to follow. Then a voice came from behind them. "Stop." They turned. The vendor was also behind them. Same man. Same cart. Same lamp. 2 identical vendors. One in front. One behind. Both holding clay vessels. Both completely still. No one spoke. No one moved. The forest was absolutely silent. "That one is the shade," said the vendor behind them, pointing at the one in front. "Don't follow it. Don't listen to it." The vendor in front, the one they'd been walking toward, flickered. Just for a second. Something slid behind its eyes. Something that wasn't the vendor and had never been the vendor, looking out through borrowed features with the particular expression of something that has been caught. The real vendor opened his clay vessel. He reached in with one hand and took out a pinch of pale gray ash, fine, almost silky, with the faint smell of something warm and ancient, like the inside of a temple that has burned incense for 100 years. He raised his hand and blew it into the air between them and the false vendor. The shade wearing the vendor's face screamed, a single, short, terrible sound, and dissolved. Clean. Gone. No body. No mark on the road. No trace that it had ever stood there. The group stood in the silence for a long moment. "Sandalwood ash," the vendor said. He was already walking. "Sacred ash, kept in a sealed clay vessel. The shade cannot sustain its form when it contacts this. I've carried it on this road for 14 years. It's the only reason I'm still alive. He glanced back at Rex. I was trying to tell you that when you walked away. Rex said nothing. There was nothing to say. The vendor's house was small and solid and real. The smell of wood smoke, a working fire, actual food on an actual stove. He settled them in and told them to rest. That the shade lost its power in daylight. That they were safe until morning. None of them slept. Not 1 hour. They lay still and listened to the forest and waited for the gray light to start appearing in the windows. When it came, it was the most beautiful thing any of them had ever seen. Morning came hard and bright. The vendor walked them to the road. He stopped a bus heading toward the city. He stood and watched until they boarded. None of them looked back at the forest. The bus was warm. The seats were real. The light through the windows was morning light, full and clear and completely ordinary. Ash pressed her forehead against the glass and watched the trees fall away behind them. They didn't speak for a long time. 6 of them on the bus. They'd started the night as 9. Ethan. Gone. Swamp. No body. Ryan. Rachel. Gone. Road. No trace. Rex stared at his hands. He kept looking at them. Ash watched him do it and didn't say anything because there wasn't anything to say. He'd been the one who walked away from the vendor mid-sentence. He'd been the one who said it's nonsense and not our problem and she'd have to have flown. He'd been the one who always had a reason. He didn't have a reason now. At the back of the bus, Nora sat alone. She was thinking about a boy who had followed her around for 2 years, who had never once made her feel anything except mildly irritated. She was thinking about the fact that something had worn his face into the dark, and he had followed it, and she had never once said one kind thing to him. Not one. Not once. She looked at her phone. His name was still in her contacts. She stared at it for a long time. Uncle Dave held Aunt Linda's hand. Both of them looked at nothing. Sophie was crying quietly against the window. She hadn't stopped since they got on. The bus moved through morning. The city appeared on the horizon, first the water towers, then the low buildings, then the streets and the noise and the ordinary world. Indifferent and alive and completely unaware of what had happened in the forest. They were safe. They were wrecked. And somewhere back in that forest, on a stretch of dark road between the trees, the shade was quiet now. Settled back into the soil. Waiting, the way it had waited for 100 years. The way it would wait for 100 more, for the next set of headlights to appear. For the next bus to slow. For the next door to open. For the next voice to say, "Don't worry about it. Not our problem." What happened on that road is the kind of thing your rational mind wants to file away as impossible. You want Rex's explanation. You want there to be a reason the old woman appeared twice. A reason the diner looped. A reason the vendor had a twin standing in the dark. There isn't one. Or rather, there is one. And the survivors of that night know it. The shade has been documented in traveler accounts across South Asia and West Africa for centuries. Desolate roads. Isolated stretches. Places where light doesn't reach. The entity that wears familiar faces. The warning that gets dismissed by the person who's always right. It always starts with one ignored sign. Here's what I want you to think about tonight. You have a route you take regularly, late at night, maybe. A long drive, a bus journey, a stretch of road you know so well you stop paying attention to it. And sometimes, on that stretch, you see something that doesn't quite fit. Something that your brain files under trick of the light before you've even finished looking at it. When was the last time you stopped and actually looked? If this story left something behind in you, subscribe. Ring the bell. We're in this dark forest together, and there are more stories coming.